On March 14, 1879, in the small town of Ulm in southern Germany, a baby boy was born into a middle-class Jewish family. No one could have guessed that the boy, Albert Einstein, would grow up to become one of the greatest minds of mankind. Story: Albert was the first child of Hermann Einstein, a small businessman in the electronics industry, and Pauline Koch, a woman who loved art, especially music. The family was not wealthy, but full of love. Albert's childhood was quite special. He did not speak fluently until he was nearly 3 years old. His parents were so worried that they thought their son had an intellectual problem. In his early years at school, young Albert did not stand out. On the contrary, many teachers considered him a sluggish, slow, dreamy child. But in his inner world, Albert was extremely sensitive and curious. A memory that he told all his life: when he was 5 years old, his father gave him a small compass. Looking at the needle always pointing in the same direction, Albert was surprised. Why doesn't it change direction? Who was controlling it? That moment planted the seeds of curiosity in the young mind. There are invisible forces, cosmic laws that are invisible to the naked eye. From then on, the boy began to passionately explore the nature of things. In addition to science, music was also an important part. Pauline, his mother, taught Albert to play the violin from a young age. Music became his lifelong companion. When he encountered difficulties in his research, Einstein often turned to the violin to regain inspiration. In his youth, Einstein's family moved to Munich, where Hermann opened an electrical equipment factory. Albert attended Luitpold High School. But the school at that time was heavy on discipline, coercion, and little encouraged creativity. Albert, with his independent and questioning personality, often had conflicts with his teachers. One day, his teacher said bluntly, "You will never succeed in life." However, the truth was quite the opposite. As a teenager, Albert began to study outside of textbooks. He pored over advanced physics and mathematics books, so absorbed that he forgot to eat and sleep. He read the works of the philosopher Kant when he was only 13, and taught himself calculus when he was only 15. In 1894, his father's business failed, and the family moved to Italy. Albert was 15 at the time, but due to poor academic results, he had to stay in Munich for a while. Disgusted with the restrictive education system, Einstein dropped out of school and followed his family to Pavia, Italy. But here, a new path opened up for the teenager: Switzerland, the place that would become the stepping stone for his brilliant scientific career. After leaving Germany behind, the young Albert Einstein moved to a new land, Switzerland. Here, he found freedom, love, and began to sow the seeds of scientific discoveries that would change the world. The years in Aarau. In 1895, at the age of 16, Einstein went to Aarau alone to attend high school to prepare for the entrance exam to the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School, ETH Zurich. In Aarau, he met teachers who were very different from those in Munich. They encouraged freedom of thought and respected students. This environment made Einstein like a fish in water. A famous memory: the teacher asked the students to imagine a ray of light running through space. Einstein immediately asked himself, "If I run parallel to the light, can I see a wave of light standing still?" That seemingly innocent question became the seed of the special theory of relativity, which he would later publish in 1905. ETH Zurich, Challenges in Love. In 1896, Einstein was officially admitted to ETH Zurich. This was one of the most prestigious schools in Europe. However, Albert was not a model student. He rarely attended classes, often skipped boring lectures to study on his own. Many professors did not like him because of his rebellious temperament. However, during his student life, Einstein met a special woman, Miliva Maric, a Serbian student who also studied physics. Miliva was intelligent, independent, and passionate about science. The two quickly became close friends, exchanging scientific ideas, playing the violin and reading philosophy books. Some researchers believe that Mileva contributed significantly to the early stages of Einstein's career, especially in discussions about physics. However, the extent of her contribution remains controversial. Albert and Mileva later fell in love and married in 1903. But before that, while still students, they had a secret daughter named Liesl, but the fate of this girl remains a mystery. It is possible that the baby died early, or was given up for adoption. This was a secret pain in Einstein's life. After graduation, career stuck. Einstein graduated from ETH Zurich in 1900. However, because he had angered many professors, he did not receive a good recommendation letter to apply for a job. For more than a year, Albert lived in unemployment, struggling to make a living by tutoring math and physics. Mileva and a few friends were his spiritual support. Finally, with the help of friends, in 1902 Einstein got a stable job at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. The job sounded dry, reading and evaluating patent applications for inventions in machinery and electronics. But thanks to it, Einstein trained his sharp thinking ability, learned how to analyze the technical nature. During the day he did administrative work, at night he devoted himself to scientific research. The Olympia Academic Group, Intellectual Friendship. During his time in Bern, Einstein and a few close friends formed a small group jokingly called the Olympia Society. They gathered to discuss all topics, from science, philosophy, literature to art. This was the forge for Einstein's bold ideas, or he was not afraid to put forward unconventional hypotheses. In a cramped apartment in Bern, under the light of an oil lamp, an unknown patent officer gradually prepared for the greatest scientific revolution of the 20th century. Amidst the hustle and bustle of life, between worries about food and clothing and love for Mileva, Albert Einstein still nurtured the flame of passion for science. And then, just a few years later, in 1905, he would stun the world with a series of works that people called Einstein's miraculous year. Project 1, Photoelectric Effect, Light is a Particle. Einstein's first paper, published in March 1905, discussed the photoelectric effect. When light shines on a metal, electrons are emitted. Before that, scientists could not explain this phenomenon with the wave theory of light. Einstein bravely put forward a bold idea. Backhand index pointing right light is not only a wave, but also consists of discrete quanta of energy, later called photons. This discovery not only opened up the field of quantum physics, but also laid the foundation for laser technology, photovoltaic cells, digital cameras, etc. Today, all solar panels are operating thanks to the principle Einstein outlined more than 100 years ago. And it was for this work that he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921. Work 2, Brownian Motion, Dust Particles and Evidence for Atoms. Einstein's second work explained a seemingly trivial phenomenon, Brownian motion. If we look through a microscope, we see tiny dust particles in water jumping around chaotically. Einstein proved that this chaotic motion is the result of water molecules constantly colliding with dust particles. This was strong experimental evidence for the existence of atoms and molecules, which had previously been doubted by many scientists. This work contributed to ending centuries of controversy and confirming that matter is indeed made up of elementary particles. Work 3, Special Relativity, Space and Time are no longer absolute. The third work, published in June 1905, was the bomb in the scientific world, special relativity. Einstein set out two simple postulates. The laws of physics are the same in all inertial frames of reference, i.e. all observers moving in a straight line. The speed of light in a vacuum is constant, independent of the light source or the observer. From this, he drew some shocking consequences. Time is not absolute. A moving clock will run slower than a stationary clock, time dilation. Length is not absolute. A moving object will shrink in the direction of motion, Lorentz contraction. Simultaneousness is also not absolute. Two events that happen at the same time for one person may not happen at the same time for another person. In other words, space and time are no longer separate, but are merged into one entity called spacetime. Work 4, famous result, E equals mc squared. In September 1905, Einstein published a supplementary paper, drawing out the great result of the special theory of relativity. Backhand index pointing right, energy and mass are two sides of the same entity, related by the formula. This formula means, a small mass can be transformed into a huge amount of energy, because the speed of light squared is an extremely large number. This result later became the basis for nuclear energy, both in power plants and in atomic bombs. 1. From Bern to Zurich, entering the academia. After the magical year of 1905, Einstein gradually gained the attention of the scientific community. Although he was still working at the Bern Patent Office, his papers began to spread. In 1908, he was invited to become a lecturer at the University of Bern, and soon moved to Zurich, where his academic career officially opened. At first, some colleagues were skeptical, because Einstein's crazy ideas challenged the foundations of classical physics. But gradually, his talent and the logic of his theory made them acknowledge him. 2. The beginning of the general theory of relativity. Einstein did not stop at the special theory of relativity. Soon after, he asked the question. Backhand index pointing right, if the special theory of relativity only applies to systems without acceleration, what happens when we consider gravity? For 8 years, 1907 to 1915, Einstein embarked on an arduous journey to find a new, more general theory that explained gravity in a completely different way than Newton. The key idea came from a moment he called the happiest experience of his life. He realized that if a person fell freely in an elevator, they would feel as if there was no gravity. This led him to the equivalence principle: gravity and acceleration are the same thing. From this, Einstein built an extremely complex mathematical framework, a combination of physics and differential geometry, to describe that gravity is not an invisible force, but rather the curvature of spacetime caused by mass and energy. 3. Publication of General Relativity, 1915. In November 1915, Einstein presented his final results to the Prussian Academy of Sciences. His theory states that space and time form a four-dimensional fabric. Massive objects, such as the Earth or the Sun, bend that fabric. The motion of planets or light is not due to mysterious gravity, but rather to the natural curves of curved spacetime. To put it in perspective, imagine placing a heavy ball on a rubber sheet. The ball dents the fabric, and the smaller balls around it roll toward it. That is Einstein's idea of gravity. For the prophecy, light is bent. General relativity made some shocking predictions. One of them, light, when passing near a massive object like the Sun, will be bent by the curvature of spacetime. In 1919, astronomer Arthur Eddington organized a scientific expedition to observe a total solar eclipse. When the moon obscured the Sun, scientists were able to measure the position of stars behind the Sun. The results showed that light was indeed deflected as Einstein predicted. When the news spread, newspapers around the world reported, "A revolution in science, Newton gives way to Einstein." From a little-known professor, Einstein suddenly became a global star. Wherever he went, he was welcomed as a hero. 5. Nobel Prize in Physics, 1921. Interestingly, Einstein did not receive the Nobel Prize for his theory of relativity. The jury at that time was still cautious with such bold ideas. Instead, in 1921, Einstein was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for his work on the photoelectric effect, a safer work that had been clearly proven by experiments. However, the whole world understood that the prize was essentially a recognition of the genius who had changed science. 6. Einstein, a global icon. Since 1921, Einstein has not only been a scientist, but also a cultural icon. He lectured throughout Europe, America, and Asia. Wherever he went, the audience was packed. People not only admired his intelligence, but also loved his simple demeanor, messy hair, and gentle smile. Even the name Einstein gradually became synonymous with the word genius. But behind that halo, he was still a humble person who hated ostentation. He was only interested in understanding how the universe works. The years 1906 to 1925 were Einstein's journey from an unknown scholar to the greatest scientist in the world. With his theory of general relativity, he not only changed the way we understand gravity, but also opened a new era, where space and time blend into the great music of the universe. 1. Bong Mei Chien Tran Bao Fu Chao. In Hong Nam Sao 1925, Chao Bat Dao Bien Dong Du Doi. Sao the Chien Thursday Not, Nuok Duk Roi Veo Kung Hong Chin Tri, Kin Tie. Den Dao in Hong Nam 1930, Adolf Hitler Va Dang Quoc Xa Troi Day, Meng Theo Chu Nia Bai Du Tai Cuc Don. Einstein, La Mot Nuoi Gok Du Tai, Sam Nan Rm Wahim Hoa. Kong Chi Bai de Doav Angwan Gok Dan Tak, On Kan La Bu Tuong Qua Qua Hok Du Tai, Thursday Ma Duk Quoc Xa Kim Get. Nam 1933, Kai Hitler Chin Tuk Len Nam Nguyen, Einstein Quiet Din Roy Duk Wong Tu Bo Moi Chuk Vu Vien Han Lam Qua Hokfo, Roy Berlin Va Dcu Sang Mai. 2. Ngoi Nam Wa Tai Princeton. Einstein Nan Loin Wa Lam Vik Tai Vien Angian Q Chow Cap Princeton, Institute for Advanced Study, Bang, New Jersey. De Tiaro Tan Ngoi Na Hok Thod Qua Ong Sut Fan Doi Con Lai. Tai Princeton, Einstein Teep Tuc Theo Dui Tam Von Lon, Zay Dung Modi Ly Thuyet Thong Na Truong, Unified Field Theory. Tim Ketch GOP Thuyet Tuong Doi Va Luke Dien Tu Veo Modi Kong Ly Thuyet Due Not. Tai Nien, De La Modi By Ton Cuc Kova Sud Thap Ky, Ong Van Chua the Ton Song. Dao Vei, Ong Van Duok Kin Tron, Taro Ton Guang Mat Dai Dien Cho Tri Tuesday Nan Loi. 3. Hitler, Chien Tran Va Noi Lo Hat Nan. Kai Chien Tran the Gioi Thursday Hai Bung No, 1939, Ca the Gioi Roy Veo Loso. Luke Du, Emotiso Na Qua Hok Fat Hien Rang Uranium Ko the Bai Fan Hatch, Chia Tach Hat Nan Nguyen Tu De Jai Fong Nam Luong Kong Lo. Einstein Ban Dao Kong Quan Tam Niu, and Hung in Hung Dong Engip Nui Du Tai Dcu, Nu Leo Sillard, De Ken Boong, Nu Duk Quoc Xa Tau Duok Biong Nguyen Tu, the Giese Roy Veo Tam Hoa. 4. Buck Thursday Lich Su Gue Roosevelt. Gay Tu Thang 8 Nam 1939, Einstein Kung Sillard Kymot Buck Thursday Gue Tong Thung My Franklin D. Roosevelt. Trong Thursday, Hokenbo V Noiko Duk Quoc Xa Fat Trian Biong Nguyen Tu, Dong Loi De Gi Mai and Han Chong Engian Q Loi Vu Kaine. Buck Thursday I Duok Koi La Koi Idaucho Duon Manhattan, Chuang Trin Tuet Mat Che Tau Boem Nguyen Tu Qua Mai. Du Dang Noi La, Einstein Kong Truck Teep Tam Jia Duon. Ong Kong Phi Na Qua Hak Hat Nan, But Chin Fu Mai Kung Gi Ngio Ong Ko Tu Tuong Hoa Ben, Nin Kong Cho Ong Teep Kan. And Hung Buck Thursday Mang Chu Ky Einstein Van Dong Vi Tiaro Tuk De Chin Tri Quan Trong. 5. Duong Nguyen Tu Ra Doi, Noim on Ca Doi. Nam 1945, My the Hai Qua Bioem Nguyen Tu Suong Hiroshima Va Nagasaki, Not Ban, Keen Han 200.000 Nu Oichat. Kai Hei Tin, Einstein Vo Kong Dao Ko. Ong Tung Noi. Nu Bi Truok Du Du. Toi de the Tiaro Tan Mot the Sua Dong Ho Kan Han Lam Na Qua Hak. Du Kong Truck Teep Che Tau, Einstein Van Kempthe Ko Trake Niem Dao Duk, V Buck Thursday Qua Ong de GOP Fan More Ke Wang Nguyen Hat Nan. De Tiaro Tan Vet Thuong Tin Nan Ong Mang Theo Sut Fan Doi Con Lai. 6. Einstein, Tiang Noi Hoa Ben. Sao Chien Tran, Einstein Tiaro Tan Mot Trong in Hung Nan Vat Song Kai Fan Doi Vu Kai Had Nan Man Me Not. Ong Tam Jian Yuda Chuk Ku Goi Jai Tru Quan Bai, Ko Vu Cho Hoa Ben Va Hop Tak Quoc Ti. Ong nan man. Qua hak mang lias uc man con lo, and hung nu con di kem dao duk, noas hui diet chin nan loi. Einstein koi trak ni maxe hoi qua na qua hak la du toi quan trong, han ca and hun song tuk ton hak. 7. Doi song ka nan o mai. Trong and hung nam o mai, Einstein van jafong tai jan di, ung thuang maka len siu, kong di tat, tig di bo quan Princeton hok chio thian tren ho. Noi dan dia thuang theong mim koi hien hao, tak roi bu, trong nu emoda ong gia lap di. And hung boy gioi qua hak, wa kai Einstein buk veo fong hoi tau, kong kai lap tuc thay doi. Nuoi ta beat rang truak mat hola bo si de lan thay doin and tang vad ly. And hung nam 1925 to 1945 dua Einstein tu chola na qua hak thuan tui tro tan mot nan vad lich su. Ong kong chi chung kien, ma kan jan teep gop fan din hin doi dai hat nan. And hung tren het, on luan junin tin veo hoa ben va treknin qua tri Tuesday nan loi. 1. Einstein, the sage of the nuclear age. After World War II ended, Einstein no longer directly participated in any major scientific research. Although he continued to explore the dream of a unified field theory, he became more of a moral icon than an experimental scientist. He spoke out strongly against the nuclear arms race between the United States and the Soviet Union. In 1946, Einstein participated in the founding of the Emergency Committee of Atomic Scientists, calling for the control of nuclear weapons and the use of atomic energy for peaceful purposes. He stated, "The future of mankind will depend on whether we can break down national barriers and live together in a world government." 2. Invitation to become President of Israel. In 1952, after the death of the first President of Israel, Chaim Weizmann, the Israeli government sent an official invitation to Einstein, asking him to become the second president of this country. This was a strange event in history. A physicist, who had never been involved in politics, was invited to become the head of state. Einstein refused. He said, "I have been involved in the world of science all my life. I lack both the ability and experience to solve political problems." This decision showed that Einstein wanted to remain an intellectual servant of humanity, not a politician. 3. Simple years at Princeton. In his later years, Einstein lived a simple life at Princeton. He often walked around the campus in a fuzzy sweater and old shoes. He loved to play the violin, considering music as his soulmate. He spent a lot of time reading letters from fans around the world. There were children who sent letters asking about the universe, and he also kindly answered. Einstein once wrote, "The important thing is never to stop asking questions. Curiosity has its own reason for existence." That saying became a guiding principle for many generations to come. 4. Declining health and the final trip. In the 1950s, Einstein began to have health problems, especially an abdominal aortic aneurysm. Doctors advised him to have surgery, but Einstein refused. He calmly said, "I want to go naturally. When the time comes, I will go. Artificially prolonging my life has no meaning." On April 17, 1955, Einstein was hospitalized due to severe pain. Early in the morning of April 18, he breathed his last at Princeton Hospital, at the age of 76. Special, when he died, Einstein left behind notes about the unfinished equation, proving that until the last minute, he was still tirelessly searching for the formula of the universe. 5. Mysteries after death. After Einstein died, the surgeons secretly removed his brain for research, hoping to find the secret of genius. This caused a lot of ethical controversy. Einstein's brain was analyzed and found to have unusually developed areas, especially in the parietal lobe, the area related to spatial and mathematical thinking. But scientists also agree that Einstein's genius lies not only in the structure of the brain, but in his endless curiosity and unlimited creativity.
6. Scientific legacy, from relativity to cosmology. Albert Einstein left behind great scientific legacies. The special theory of relativity, 1905, changed the way we understand space and time. Equation E equals mc squared, the foundation for nuclear energy and modern physics. Photoelectric effect, the basis for solar cell technology. General theory of relativity, 1915, paved the way for the Big Bang theory, black holes, and gravitational waves. To this day, these theories are still verified by modern technologies such as the Hubble Space Telescope, LIGO, and the first image of a black hole in 2019. Einstein, although deceased, still accompanies humanity on the journey to explore the universe. 7. Spiritual legacy, humanistic lessons. More than science, Einstein left humanity a philosophy of life. Be curious, never stop asking questions. Live simply and humbly. Use intelligence to serve peace, not destruction. Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge."
Knowledge is limited, but imagination embraces the whole world.
8. The end, an immortal star.
Today, when we mention Albert Einstein, we do not just mention a physicist. We mention an intellectual and humanistic symbol, a man who proved that the power of the mind can change the universe, but must always come with responsibility and compassion.
Einstein has been gone from this world for more than half a century.
But every time we look up at the starry sky, every time humans take a step forward in exploring the universe, the name Einstein still echoes. Because he is not just a scientist, he is a part of human history, an immortal star. We have finished listening to the story of his life. If you find it interesting, please give me a like and subscribe.